So what is the AKAI MPC Live III? Well, first of all, it's a mouthful, so I'm going to refer to it as the Live III from now on. Amongst many other things, it's a sampler, a sequencer and an audio recorder with a built-in mic and speakers. To call it a mere groove box is to do it a disservice, I think. Let's talk about the specifications. It's 17.2 inches wide, it's 10.1 inches deep, and it is 2.16 inches high. Or if you're a metric person, 435.9, 256 and 67.1. So this touchscreen is 5.9 inches this way and 3.7 inches this way. Diagonally, that's how you measure it really, it's 6.9 inches. So you would call it a 7-inch touchscreen, wouldn't you? Now this thing is heavy, it's 8.6 pounds or 3.9 kilograms. So the overall impression of this unit is that it's very well made. It's chunky and heavy, but I find that strangely reassuring. I'm not sure I would want to carry it around in a backpack, but I guess you could. So let's talk about finding your way around and customizing your Live III. Now I purposely haven't plugged the mains lead in at the moment because I'm going to use the battery at first. I'll show you the back of the instrument in a while, but before I do that, let's just switch it on. Now there's a switch at the back. It's a very pleasant, soft touch, non-latching switch. You'll hear a little fan come up, which is a bit disconcerting, but don't worry, that soon goes silent. We get this nice little graphic come up here. Now if we keep watching, you'll see what happens. In battery mode anyway. You don't get this if you're plugged into the mains. Let's be patient and wait for it. Right, it says, let's make beautiful music. So to start, you have to press and hold this circle here. It spins round once and then it boots up. Now if you're attached to the mains, you don't get that, and you can switch that off in the preferences. Okay, so I'm going to plug my mains in now because I don't want to have that every time. I just wanted to show you that. The other thing, as you've just seen, if you are running this thing off the battery, the display by default is pretty dim. So when you're plugged into the mains, it comes up nice and bright, which is great. And it lights up like a Christmas tree, doesn't it? Some people like that, some people don't. I've watched loads of videos about this, as you do when you buy something, and some people are a fan of these multicoloured pads and some aren't. Anyway, I'll be going through everything eventually, so don't worry. Today is going to be a very general kind of look at it. So if you want to turn that preference off, by the way, you go to menu, this button here, so it's the top left of this lower cluster, preferences, which is here on the screen. Okay, down here you may be able to see it says hardware, touch that, and then we're going to drop down, just scroll up with our finger, just like an iPad. Power on the screen, and that says when on battery. I'm just going to click that. Now if I push down on this data dial, this bigger knob here, I get the options. I'm going to go to never, click it again, and now when this boots up, it won't do that whether it's on battery or on mains. If you don't use this machine for a while, it goes into what appears to be a kind of a screensaver, power saver mode where the screen dims. By default, this is 3 minutes if you're on batteries and 5 if you're on the mains. And again, you can change all these things under the preferences. Before I changed it, the default screen, it showed my project templates and other bits and pieces. It wasn't particularly great. So I changed this to showing the main screen. So again, I'll go to preferences. I will go to project defaults, which is down here. And you can see I've got this set on main. If I click on this, by the way, you can just double tap it as well. The options are main mode or the clip matrix or the sounds. I'll leave it on the main mode, which means it's on this main page when it boots up, which is just fine. And this main button is here. It's the second one in at the top. Right, so we're getting there. So we're now going to have a quick whiz round all the controls just to show you what they do. I'm not going to do anything particularly deep here, just get you used to the top of the machine. So we'll start top left, and a very obvious knob for the main volume. Along the top edge are the smaller step buttons, 16 of them, so they represent 16 semiquavers when you're doing a step sequence, but you can set these to all these different things here. Drum sequencer, note sequencer, step edit, note length, etc., right the way down to edit actions here. So that's, you know, a whole world in itself that we need to discover. At the end of this row are two more buttons marked previous and next. Okay, and these are used for accessing different bars, or with the shift button, which is down here, lower right cluster, third button along, you can change whether the playhead in the sequencer follows the song or is locked. And again, you know, that's a bit deeper, we won't worry about that for the moment. Below the step buttons are a row of slightly larger buttons, which all have various functions, which I'm not going to go into now, and they all have a shift function. You can see they've got red writing underneath the white. So if you see red writing, you have to hold shift and that button to get that function. So if I wanted latch, I'd hold shift and I'd press this note repeat button, which is also marked up as latch. On the far left, we have the touch strip. You see that dot running up there, and this does all manner of things. A short press on this shows you the assignment, notes, press it again, pitch bend, press it again, mod wheel, and in fact if I press and hold, you'll see all these up here. Cue link, pad level, track level, touch effects, etc. All these can be assigned to that touchpad. You've got to keep your finger on the button. As soon as you let go, it goes away. This touch strip is a really fantastic thing, and we'll get to that in the fullness of time, of course, like everything else on here. On the left half of the device, we have these 16 pads, which have multiple uses, all of which I will cover eventually, I'm sure. Obviously, the main use for these pads is playing sounds, and I'm sure you've seen already loads of videos about how you can get different sounds in the different corners. I'll be going through all of that, of course. On the right side of the screen is the 7-inch touch screen that I mentioned. This is used for accessing tons of stuff. Just think of it like an iPad. That's pretty much how it works, and I'll be going through that, of course. I'll be using it all the while. On the far right of the machine, we've got these 4 Q-Link encoders. They're endless encoders, so you just keep spinning them around, they don't stop. And you can see this dial turning here. I'm going to change my project just to show you how these work. So I'm going to go to Menu, Browser. I'm going to go to Places, MPC Documents, Projects, Les One. This is obviously a project that I made yesterday. .xpj is the extension. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to press down on this. Loading a project will replace everything in memory. Do you want to continue? Yes, that's fine, because I've not done anything I want to keep there. So press OK. And it's loading my little project. Nothing much in this. I've just got these 3 pads that I've put into a drum kit. But I booted this up just to show you these endless encoders. So if I press the main button twice, track view comes up. And if I go to track 2, which is actually on that, it's highlighted, and I press edit, you can see there's a kind of a brown rectangle around this. If I press the Q-Link button once, it moves over to the right, and again, and again. So obviously, with it fully over on the right, these 4 Q-Link encoders will control these 4 parameters. So if I go back to the beginning, then obviously I've only got 3 here. In the old days, you would have called these soft encoders because they do different things depending on what you have highlighted here. See? So that is the Q-Link endless encoders. Below those 4 encoders, I've already been using this. It's called the data dial. It's a much larger endless encoder. And obviously, whatever's highlighted on the screen is, if I just touch that one shot, you can see it's got a red oblong around it. Now, if I rotate the data dial, you'll see that changing. And if I push down on it, it brings it up on the screen. It kind of focuses in on that. And we'll be using that an awful lot. Press it again to go back. On the bottom right hand side of the instrument, we've got a whole host of buttons. We've got all the transport buttons: record, overdub, stop, play, play, start, plus various other function buttons like the menu and the main you've already seen, the shift you've already seen. We've got sounds, we've got edit, arrange, mixer. There's a dedicated button for setting the tempo, and at the moment I've got this set to, if I press it 3 times in a nice rhythm, that will bring up the tempo that I want, but I can change that to 2 or 4 taps in the preferences. There's a dedicated button for the loop, on and off, and there's a dedicated button to turn this internal mic on and off. And there's a few other things for rewinding, fast forward, plus and minus buttons here to change the tempo. It's very, very full featured, isn't it? Very, very rich. So at the bottom of the device we have the microphone, the built-in microphone, and the speakers are behind this grill, and it's obviously stereo, and they are really good, I have to say. Not going to be as good as my studio monitors out of shot here, but still very, very usable. I was using them all day yesterday and they sound really, really satisfying. So it's battery operated, you've got a built-in mic, you've got fantastic speakers, so the whole thing is completely portable. You could sit in bed, although it's a bit heavy on your legs, sit out in the kitchen, sit in the living room and make music. You don't need anything else as long as you're charged up. Not sure about the charge time. Some people are quoting 4 hours. I would think that's a bit optimistic, but so far I haven't been able to test that for you. Right, the next thing I'm going to do is turn this machine off because I want to show you around the back of it. I'll show you how we turn it off, just so you know. I push the power button at the back, which is out of sight. Do you want to shut down your MPC? There are unsaved changes in your project which will be lost. Do you want to save the changes you made to Les 1? I don't, because I haven't really done anything, so don't save, like that. And now the machine is shutting down. Wait for the light to go out completely on the screen, like that, and now I can unplug things, and like I say, I'll be back to show you the rear of the machine. Okay, so we'll start on the far left. We're looking at the rear of the device now. We've got the full-size headphone socket here. We've got the slotted speaker switch for turning the internal speakers on and off. This is essential when you are using the internal mic for recording. So you push it up for on, down for off. You've got 6 outputs, which is very generous, isn't it? 1 and 2 are the main left and right, but you've got these others here as well. Then we have the 2 combo sockets for audio input, and I'm sure you've seen these before. These are for full-size jack plugs or XLRs. This is what everyone is excited about on this device, and that's because you can plug in a high-quality condenser mic. You can turn phantom power on using the software inside the machine, and you can record in high quality. But having said that, the built-in mic that I showed you earlier is pretty good quality as well. So you've got the best of both worlds, haven't you? By the way, if you want to turn that phantom power on, you go to menu and input. So moving further along, we've got 2 RSA or phono sockets for plugging in something like a turntable or similar. And you've got an associated ground loop terminal. In case your deck is humming, you can get rid of the hum by putting a wire onto this. There's the classic Kensington lock. I don't think I've ever seen anyone use one of these, but it's for locking the device down so somebody can't wander off with it. Up here we've got these tiny CV outputs. They're stereo, and obviously this is for Euro rack stuff or similar. Again, I haven't got any of that, but if I ever do get any, it'll be great to have those. To the right of that, we've got an SD card socket. You don't get a card with it, but you can put your own in there. That's for more storage. I don't think there's any difference on how well the thing works, whether it looks at data on the SD card or the internal drive. So that's a good thing to have, isn't it? Then we've got the old style MIDI sockets. 2 MIDI outs, 2 MIDI ins. The MIDI outs are labelled A and B, and the MIDI ins are labelled 1 and 2. We've got 2 Type A USB sockets and the all-important USB-C socket, which is a fantastic thing to have, and you can talk to your computer and you can send and receive MIDI audio, all kinds of stuff. I haven't got into that yet, but I obviously will do eventually. Finally, on the far right, we've got the power switch, which I mentioned. You just push it in and let go. I won't do that because it will fire up, but there is the socket next to it for plugging in the mains, and up here there's a little LED that shows you that the mains is plugged in and the state of the charge. You can actually see the percentage of the charge on the top of the machine under the menu page. Underneath the device we find 4 sturdy rubber feet. We've got the serial number and a removable plate for you to install your own SSD SATA drive for extra storage over and above what is provided internally and via the SD card slot. I also should mention that the USB-C plug has got a little screw on it there to stop it getting pulled out, which is a good safety feature, especially if you're in a club playing. So that's a nice little extra. I think the Tonverk has got that as well. I mentioned that this USB plug had got a little screw in it, and there's a screw head there that you could carefully tighten up with a screwdriver, though I'm a bit nervous of that in case I slip and scratch the casing. So I tend to do it by hand, and it is doable, I think. There's a hole in the case where that screw fits.